All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'm testing sound. Sorry, guys. Testing 1, 2, 3. All right, I think that's it. I made a change in the background settings to see if I won't have to be making making so many changes up here. And I think it is. I think that's what I wanted to achieve. Okay. Good morning, Miss. Good afternoon, Miss Washington. All right. So I'm gonna take this morning's video and pull it down in a few minutes. I was giving everybody an opportunity to see it, peruse it from earlier, but my gut is telling me to take it and cut it down so that, and I want to try their new editor program that they got here on the YouTube. Good afternoon, Ivame. So I want to take it and cut it down. Okay. Because I want to stay on my message as much as possible. And my message this morning was focused on the non-emergency call from the neighbor. Did or did it not align with the arrest warrant affidavit? As I start to piece this together to see how I can make a difference, if there's a difference that can be made, and to reach out to you guys and see how we can participate collectively as a collective group to have our voices heard. Here's the weird thing about it. I'm not a resident of Texas. I'm definitely not a resident of Fort Worth, Texas. Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. I'm definitely not a resident there. So we have limited capacity that we can build. And I hear it right now, people cringing. That's what's wrong with Black folks. We always think because we live in a different place that we have a limited capacity. We do. I'm sorry. Wake up. Wake up, all the children. Let me hear you sing. Okay. The simple thing is we do. And you can't undercut our impact. This became a national case. Why? Because of some key players in it. And everyone's situation, every tragedy that happens in a family is not necessarily newsworthy. And sometimes I believe it's not newsworthy. And sometimes I believe that when a family has been pushed into the spotlight, Everyone's not ready for that role. And you end up with nuances as we have here. Not ready for the role. We had a neighbor. You think he woke up that day at 2 a.m. in the morning and saw his neighbor's door open and decided to say, wow, let me call the police so they can come over here and kill my neighbor and I can stand out in the front yard and speak to media. You think that's what he wanted to do that day? No. But you can easily be put in these high profile situations and have very limited resources of what you can do or what you can say. And it's unfortunate. Then you have people that are opportunists. And I'm starting to go with my gut on this one for many reasons, right? So you have, we call them in New York area, we call them up here ambulance chases. So that's when you have attorneys that chase the radio scans and they hear something that sounds like a good case and they sounds like a case that falls within their jurisdiction of the type of cases they want to handle, and they get themselves in the forefront of it. And they're out there putting their face out there to be seen visibly. They're physically present, and it's just crazy. So I came in on this Texas crime wave ever since Malia Davis. So I just want to make sure I segue people into how I got here. And I've been ambulance chasing myself, KHOU News, KHOU 11 News, because I've been wanting to make sure that I kept myself informed of what was going on since the Malia Davis case. And I'm not going to give up on the Malia Davis case. I realize that I cover it from a different perspective than most people are covering it, right? I'm seeking justice for Darian Vance. So I want to be perfectly clear, crystal clear across the board where I stand. Good afternoon, Joy. I'm seeking justice for Darian Vance. He is the stepfather or whatever he called himself to Malia Davis, who was last seen leaving the premises. No, who was last seen with her in the on video. We last saw him with her alive, and we later find out from some kind of confession inside of the jailhouse that he sent an activist or provided an activist with the location as to where he could find the body. And the police, on the tip of the activist, went out there and secured the body. The remains. And I'm going to call them remains. I'm not even going to call it a body because we later discovered that her remains were ran over by a lawnmower, days before or hours before they could recover her body based on Darian Vance. So I've been perfectly clear from the gate that I've been seeking justice for Darian Vance. And if you disagree with me, let me help you understand why I've taken that approach and why I'm going to cover it from that position. I don't think he's no angel in this, and I don't think that he's I believe at this point he's innocent until proven guilty, and the preponderance of the evidence must show that. And I don't believe that the shenanigans in that case point us to point us to not have reasonable doubt as to what happened. So I am desperately, and I'm saying this very clearly, I'm desperately waiting for the charges to be upgraded in his case. Hi, Gab. I'm desperately waiting to see what it is. But I'm telling you, it's the Malia Davis case, but I'm definitely seeking justice for Darian Vance. And it's clear to me that people don't understand what justice means. So that's why I'm taking that approach, so that as we walk through justice, we understand what it means. Sometimes justice can mean getting through something and seeing it to the end. It could be a myriad of things that got Mr. Vance in the situation that he's in, right? But at the end of the day, justice is just that. Justice is blind. Justice is supposed to be blind, and she's supposed to be fair and balanced, and she's supposed to be swift. Those are the three elements of justice besides her being a woman. And I think that's where our ears come into play, and our compassion and nurturing, that we're just here. We're good listeners. That's what I feel women represent. But man will not see it. Justice is not a man. He's a woman. And she's holding in her right hand the balance, the scales of balance. And that's where truth is being balanced at. And that's where fairness and equality is supposed to be in her hands, in her right hand. In her left hand, she's got the sword. And that's where it comes down quickly and fast. And she's blind because it's supposed to be impartiality for everyone. It's supposed to be fair to everyone. So that's what I see when I see it. So justice can be on either way. You can seek justice for Darian Vance, meaning that he gets the appropriate time. And in my purview, I don't want him lynched for whatever occurred in Malia Davis' situation, more so than what a person of non-color would get. And that's why, Coulter Turner's case is inherently important to this. That's a case where a 4-year-old, 2-year-old, 2-year-old, 4-year-old. Hold on, because like I said earlier, I lost my notes because I lost the phone. So Colton Turner was killed in Austin, Texas. Let me see if this brings us back to him. Less than a week after investigators found the body of 2-year-old Colton Turner, so it's a similar situation where it involved the mother and the mother's boyfriend, and the child turned up missing. So and Colton's has unique characteristics. Colton's mother's boyfriend, Michael Turner, gave the officer, let me just read it like this. Cedar Park Police Detective Justin Miller was the officer who got a confession out of Colton's mother's boyfriend, Michael Turner. We were lucky enough to have them separated to where they couldn't talk about this, while they maybe had months before tried to work out a story. There were so many holes in it we were able to kind of play to those holes. Miller, along with the FBI agent, drove to hey Tony, drove to the jail Thursday to interview Turner after the department received a call Wednesday that worried Colton was missing. Turner was being held at the jail on charges unrelated to Colton's disappearance. So you may recall that Turner, who's the boyfriend, the mother got some of her friends on Facebook got concerned because they were seeing the mother on Facebook without the child, and they called in the police. And then they called in the police. It there was a it turned out there was already an investigation undergone by whatever you call that, children's services were already involved. CPS in that state, they call it CPS, Child Protective Services, was involved in the case, or had some allegations of abuse that they were investigating. And somewhere during the time of the investigation, the mother moved from the location, and they were unable to conclude their investigation and subsequently closed the case. So that's how we got to Colton's law, wherein they state whenever you're investigating a case, you'll be able to follow the child wherever the family is, or they'll keep contact until they close the case out. So that was one of the biggest holes in this case, if you ask me, was that someone called in a potential neglect case, and the people that were supposed to investigate lost the family, the subject family, and they did no follow-up to find the subject family. In any event, the mother moved, lived in someplace else, and her friends called in a potential, where's this child at? So police came and questioned her and wanted to see the child, and she then reported that she sent the child with some friends. When they went to follow up with those people and realized that the child wasn't there, they went back and spoke to the mother, and she had a spiraling events of telling people where the child was. So they interviewed the stepfather at some point, or he's considered the stepfather because I believe he adopted and named the child. The child carries his last name of some sort. Anyway, they contacted the father, the stepfather, or the boyfriend, however you want to classify him. And he, I think we're going to say boyfriend, because to me, a stepfather should marry the mother. But in any event, they contacted him and found out he led them to the body. Eventually, he led them to the body. Similarly to Darian Vance, but he was only charged with tampering with a corpse. And I believe the mother was only charged with tampering with a corpse and endangering some other charge related to endangering a minor, that a child under a certain age, that was then later reduced. I think it's something like causing injury to a child. But these were these are laws that are very loose. And I think they got sentenced to about 20 years and will only do about 2 years, 3 years. Very small window of time for the crime. Now, what needs to change? The law itself. And if I'm sitting here saying this to you just as clear as day, right? This happened in 2015 or so. Why hasn't the law changed for 2019? Why is it still on the books as it was written? So when I say look for justice for Darian Vance, I want him to get the same type of sentence that she got. That is how the system works. And if you don't like how the system works, then you have to elect officials to change. You have to lobby the people in charge to make a change. It's ludicrous. It doesn't make no sense. How do you make an example out of someone like a Darian Vance because he's a man of color for doing the same thing that a non-black does? That's what I mean when I look at justice for me. So if I was looking at Darian Vance and I was representing him, I want the same equal protection that the others received. I want the same punishment, not for him to be a scapegoat and made an example out of. There's so many people who are going to disagree with that, and I get it. But that is a system that we have in place, and you have to correct that system. Some people will be like, "No, we need to get him all the years he could possibly get," and I get that. But that doesn't help modify the system. The system has to be the laws in themselves need to be corrected, and that's the point of view that I have. And that's the perspective that I'm bringing it. So now, in respect to the temporary restraining order that was issued for the Tatiana Jefferson, we're going to discuss that. But before I segue into that, I'm telling you how I got connected with Texas in the first place, because I think it's just important to say that. And people understand where I'm coming from in this whole Texas thing. So out of that case, waiting to hear from more developments in the Malia Davis case and being frustrated with the coverage of how I seen it from the YouTubers that I was respecting in its limited scope. Because now I really have no respect for those channels. And I'm just like, and it's because of their coverage. It's because of making a whole bunch of accusations against the mother. And you don't see me live? Hello? Do you see me live? Hold on, I had to mute. Y'all not gonna believe this. He gonna tell me that I sound horrible still, right? Because the cough is embedded. So he's gonna be like, "You gonna go back to work like that?" Absolutely. The motherfuckers made me sick. You think I'm not gonna share this with them? I'm going to share this cold right along with them. It's whatever kind of cleaning shit they did, because they did some surface cleaning the week before. All that surface cleaning is somebody taking a nasty ass rag from your desk to the other person's desk and cleaning that. Sometimes think, hey DOD, who won the game? Taking that and I'm taking this shit right back over there to them and sharing my code, because unfortunately I was at home throughout my whole vacation sick, and they was probably up in there. And I forgot there was one day that week before. There was one day the week before where I was sick as shit, because I'm sitting in my new space is I'm sitting under the vent, and the vent was pouring down AC. We was freezing in there on the Monday. I think it was the Columbus Day Monday. And so what it no was no the week before that, the Monday of the 10th, right before it was one of those Jewish holidays. And I was calling up the people to come and fix that. So I was sick. They made me sick. Well, I'm glad your team won. So this is how I got into Texas. It was the Malia Davis case. I'm looking for justice for Darian Vance. And I've explained that. Okay. So as I was watching the Darian Vance, so looking for updates in that, of course, there's this other big arrest shit that's going on in Texas, and it's in Houston as well, and it's related to the black officer who filed some false they call it the botched drug raid from January 2019. So earlier this year in January, they had some big botched raid that came out. So as I'm monitoring KHOU for new developments in Malia Davis' case, guess what? This comes up. So I find it extremely interesting. And then I keep saying to people, what do white folks do? So the police officers came in there, bust through their doors on a fraudulent warrant. The information contained in the warrant was fraudulent. The information presented to the judge was non-verifiable. Everyone covered themselves completely. The DA said, "Oh, I didn't know nothing about this, but we might have to change our protocols, right?" And their process of submitting warrants now may undergo a new step. The police chief said he was discontinuing no knock warrants, because that was a no knock warrant effective immediately. Immediately was like 6 months after the murder of these people in their home. So these were white folks in their home executed by the police. So to me, Texas ain't no respecter of anybody in their fucking home. That's what it boils down to. You got Botham Jean from 2018 who was sitting in his house eating ice cream. Got a police officer just barged in his shit thinking it was hers, fucking killed him. Nobody gives a damn. Right? You got this whole shit right here where they got a no knock warrant into these people's home. Not only did they kill the husband and wife, the white couple, right? The Caucasians, they also killed the fucking dog and went in there to execute the dog as well. Gave specific orders that this man had a dog. And knowing that the man, I don't know if they really knew, but the man had a gun. So he fired back. He protected, he stood his ground. Nah, he castle doctored that motherfucker, his own house, right? What white folks do in that situation? Because they bust through their door, they went and retained themselves. They went and retained themselves an attorney. The attorney subsequently hired a forensics team and went through the house. Knock, knock. S. Lee Merritt, do you have a forensics team of your own going through the home of a Tatiana Jefferson for evidence? So before we got to a Tatiana Jefferson situation, I was already feeling a little bit of ways about S. Lee Merritt, the attorney who finds himself in all of this stuff. I'm just telling y'all what the white folks are doing, what they did when they seen injustice. They have their attorney come out and he's like, okay, we only see him speak now, or I've only seen him speak when it's relevant to the developments in the case, as a specific reminder that they're going to still be on these people. They're not looking for justice for a whole fucking community of white folks. They're not looking for justice for a whole community of junkies and trans, whatever the fuck was going on over there. Because it's obvious that in that neighborhood, them people was into something. You understand? Those people didn't have the best character. You understand? They try to tell us in our Tatiana's case, like that was the best house on the block. It's obvious from the home that they shot up with this girl, these white folks, that they was absolutely had some shicey shit going on with them. Let me find y'all a picture of the house to just remind y'all the tenements the white folks was living in. Yeah, I know. I just want to show y'all the disproportionate